Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief Recap. Wow, what a wild market, eh? Up and down like a horse drawers. And it sure looks like Bitcoin and crypto has caught a bid here. So nice to see we are seeing some uppy. Let's just make sure YouTube page is working. And it is. So that's good. I can't wait till our dashboard is updating in real time. Probably be some really great information breadth-wise. When I talk to site people and try to sort of see the market, breadth, if you will, what's the participation? It's interesting to see how just about everything is catching a bid here today, except for the Japanese yen. I thought that was kind of odd. But if we actually look at the market breadth, things are sort of suggesting that the calm is returning to the market. Put call ratios are sort of coming back to recent ranges of advanced decline line. Maybe things are calming down. I did put some tweets out showing that the April options expiry for VIX, there's a lot of incentive for them to bring this market VIX back down. And the irony of it all is we can all see the big gap down there at about $20. If they can do that over the next 2 or 3 weeks, holy moly, do they hit a home run. So don't be surprised. We've been sort of talking about this forever now. And I'd also been sort of talking that through the month of March, you'd almost get to the point where people are just absolutely exhausted. And I am starting to sort of feel that fatigue in the market. The trends, the one directional trend is calming down here a little bit. With regard to financial crisis and all that kind of stuff, I think the short-term acute crisis has been dealt with. There's not going to be major defaults by companies like Boeing and stuff that are like major infrastructure companies to the U.S. military. So that's passed. We're now definitely in the medical news crisis, and we're also now starting to see the actual econ numbers. We had just a staggering employment initial jobless claims number come out today. And that information is only going to get worse. But the problem here for most people looking at the market day to day is they're going to be like, well, the numbers are absolutely horrific. Why isn't the market going down? And the irony of it all is that the pundits will say, well, that was baked into the price as the stock market got whacked there. So lots of back and forth. I am also starting to see some back and forth in things like crude oil. Maybe, like we've said there just a moment ago, maybe we've sort of hit a little bit of a sort of a pivot here in the market. It is interesting to see, and I was musing with Kevin earlier about the euro is just up and down and up and down, and the euro has a bunch of gaps to the downside. So I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever to see, I can't remember what chart I had it on. I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever to see the euro have to come right back down to the bottom end of its range. I thought I had a chart that had the gaps on here, but sorry, I'm getting off topic here. So U.S. dollar is pressing back up top. We'll see whether we go back into more crisis thinking. But for the time being, there is a cheeky little gap on the U.S. dollar index. And like I said, on the euro, there's lots of gaps to the downside. So my hunch is they're probably going after this level here in the short term. And we will see, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, probably following the options expiry tomorrow, some sort of serious resolution. And, we had kind of talked about the eye of the storm kind of idea. It's interesting how I saw actually a number of people in the major media actually pick up this eye of the storm kind of conversation here. So I don't know. It's interesting how that sort of tidbit has just been dropped on us now. I do like that sort of eye of the storm thinking. The question ultimately here, unfortunately, right now is, in the middle of the eye of the storm, is there really any new trade setups coming in? And it's sort of like we have a rule at TRI that we have to let 38.2s resolve themselves. And I put tweets out to this effect earlier today saying, right now we're just in a trading range. And, a bunch of us at TRI, we like to crash the Top Step Trader morning sort of get-go video broadcast they do on YouTube, and talk to John Hoagland, who I have just an absolute world of respect for, and just sort of listen to what's on his mind. And, I thought this today was an absolutely perfect example of a very typical pit trader sort of life, where they actually will place their buy order just one or two ticks below this low, looking for this FU move. In fact, on the site, one of the setups in our library is called the SFU move, which is doing nothing more than placing your buy order just a tick or two below that level and riding this counter trend rally following that event. I don't think that this 38.2 has been resolved, and the econs themselves are just absolute train wreck right now. So, one might argue that if you actually change this to a line chart, you can actually see that the market is trying to W out here. So we'll see how that goes, considering the VIX information. It's actually not in the options trader's best interest to let the VIX come down too quickly, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's still some more fireworks to the downside. And wicks and tails like to be eaten, so I don't think that the business is done here. That was just a classic employment. And what's so fascinating about this is that overnight we follow the battle stations trade setup plan. And through the night, we actually had this really nice short setup that developed on the European, that we happen to trade the Dutch futures markets. This is our proxy du jour. And the setup just came in absolutely perfectly textbook. And on the unemployment report data release, the market tanked right into our levels. And actually, the trade worked out perfect. But ironically enough, just shortly thereafter, this big, massive counter trend rally developed, and now you can see that they've M'd it out. So, if anything, this is such a great analogy of the market right now. It is chop central. You better trade your trading plans. You better have all your rules all perfectly outlined. When the levels come in, you pull the trigger, you live with the results, make damn sure that if you're right, you get paid. At least, I like to make it a rule that my setups, I don't even consider them unless I can get paid $2 if I'm right and lose $1 if I'm wrong. Really great analogy of a day trader's life. And the irony of it all is that your day is basically done at like 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. There's your whole day. Merry Christmas. And the rest of the day is just chop central. So it's just really interesting how our setup did come in, everything fired, and the trade worked. So, yeah, it's a day trader's life, eh? Back to our big conversation here. Sorry, guys. And I have a bad habit of getting off topic. So, employment report, really nasty news. 38.2s to the downside. Lots of fight going on here, but we can't really decide whether this fight has actually been won by the bulls until we actually cross back up through the top here and start moving higher. And lo and behold, if we go look at Bitcoin, that's exactly what this looks like, right? Crossing, nice W, breakout, away we go. But we'll get to Bitcoin in a bit. I think it was probably a little bit foolish to be thinking that crude oil prices would never have a counter trend rally, never happen again. I mean, come on. Markets are ebb and flow. They're back and forth. Sort of my feelings about investing in oil going forward. So I don't really like the idea of investing in oil. But, if energy prices themselves put in bottoms, love the idea of investing in alternative energies, solar power, bacterial stories, Ballard Powers, fuel cells, all those kind of ideas. Love them. I just don't really want to participate in owning oil stocks. Having said that, it's a trader's life. And, on Thursdays we have Julian come on the show. Give us his baby powder report. Guy's just absolutely killing the market right now. So he just got back from vacation too, and he's right back in the saddle. He's just chomping at the bit to trade. And he was telling us today in the daily brief about how he was hunting long setups in the oil market, and the trade just didn't work out. But at least long and short of it here, he's thinking in the right direction. on a sort of daily, oh my goodness, price closed at $20 yesterday, and here we are at 24. That's like, wow, 20-30% rally. Oh my goodness. But let's put this move into perspective. Ironically enough, just like we did out of the S&Ps, I think you can make the argument that we won't even know whether this thing is still a bear, or whether it actually is going to transition back into a trading range until we see $37 tested. So, if anything, actually, this is a classic, what we call a doji gap. This high here now represents a pivot. If the market can go back up through that high, then that's a short-term signal. It's only a 1 or 2 bar pattern, but you can see we're very far away from those wicks, so I doubt that's going to happen, but who knows. You probably also can see like a head and shoulders pattern developing down here. So, for those people that are hunting setups and just trading away, at asset agnostic, I just trade setups. Okay, I mean, I could understand buying a little bit of energy there the other day. It's not my bag right now. Also, too, from what I understand, the fundamental story, and be careful here, the reason why the market had justified the rally, there was rumor talk that Russia, the United States, and Saudi Arabia were going to, I don't know whether Saudi Arabia was going to be part of the conversations, but they were going to get back to the negotiating table and try and fix prices, create 21st century OPEC. Oh, my goodness. Very bizarre world we're living in, where the entire story has been flipped on its head. And now the people that were bitching about price controls now want price controls. Crazy world. So point of the matter here is, could we see some back and forth here in the crude market? Absolutely. Could we see $7, $8, $9 a barrel in crude down the road? Absolutely. And I fully expect that to happen over the next 10, 15 years in crude. No doubt about it. Just obviously massive price range. You see the gaps. These gaps will want to be filled in. Could traders make money off this? Absolutely. It's just, I'm not interested in investing in oil. That's probably just more of a personal kind of thing. Looking at the risk-off assets, catching a bit of a bid on gold and bonds. Interesting to see, I guess, now we're starting to think that the U.S. dollar is the risk-off proxy now, and it's replaced the Japanese yen. People have more confidence in the Federal Reserve saving the day than the Japanese. Could be. I don't know. Tough to say. So yen is slightly disconnected, but bonds, even though they are printing a red candle here, they are working their way higher, and that bot setup is still just doing its thing. And interesting to see how the gold is trying desperately to reverse this nasty little double top that's come in here. While talking with Julian through his presentation today, he's turned very bullish of gold, and he's looking for excuses to add to some longs that he picked up here. I think you can make the argument when we look at this gold chart that there was a bit of a double bottom that came in. You can see the consolidation through here. I don't know whether I'm ready to get too bullish of the gold. I think I had said yesterday that if you took some profits at the 50% level, that really wasn't a terrible idea. And for heaven's sakes, don't let a winning trade turn into a losing trade. If this thing starts racking back up through this trend line, if I was in this trade, which I'm not, but if I was, I would be seriously thinking about just hopping off and waiting for a new sell signal to put it back on. So having said that, people inside TRI management are starting to get more bullish of the gold. I don't know whether I subscribe to that newsletter, but that's what makes a market, and that's what I love about TRI, is that we're sort of a communal environment. What do they say? It takes a community to raise a really crappy trader like Brian. I don't know why I said that, but anyway, I like the fact that TRI is not just sort of pigeonholed into one particular person's opinion, because clearly opinions are wrong, and I'm just not seeing the market very clearly of late, and I've made a couple doinky trades, and I've really just slowed myself down because I'm not seeing the market correctly. So I love the fact that we have contributions from a number of different people on the daily briefs that they just talk about the setups that they're trading. And for whatever it's worth, I just because I'm so proud of them, I'll tout it just on balance. Julian started his most recent day trading plan. Maybe more of a swing trader with about 150 Ethereum as sort of a capital base to work with. And he's got the goddamn thing up to about 400 Ethereum now. And Ethereum's rallying, so you can imagine how Julian's feeling right now. He's feeling pretty damn good. So, as we had said earlier, Julian did get justification to actually get in on the long side off of this consolidation. Way to go, Julian. I will start saying, fine, we are a gold bull and get ready for some seriously higher prices if we can print above, say, 1700 here. And hopefully that just makes sense. It's just AB equals CDs, top end of the trading range. I don't know whether we have enough ammunition to get through this zone here, but we'll see. Only time will tell. All right, what else can we tell you good people here today that might help you a little bit with what you're seeing in the market? Did pick up this little bank stock, like I said. Oh man, my trading these days sort of questionable, but if anything, it's probably a good lesson. All of you are going to go through sort of cloudy periods where you're just not seeing the market clearly and you're zigging when the market's zagging. I bought this railroad tracks. I really like the double bottoms that came in here. I said the other day I was going to risk to a break of these lows, and you can see they're basically testing me right now. And I might just have to walk away from this trade. It's painful. It sucks. It's just, it's a trader's life. I'll definitely journal this, try and see if I can dissect the trade a little bit more to sort of give me some ideas of maybe I was a little bit hasty. As I had sort of said, I kind of walked into a trap buying into that rally into 38.2s on S&Ps. We'll see how it goes. I've defined where my uncle point is, and you can see basically if we lose yesterday's low, I'm gone. Shout out to Kevin. Again, like I said, and the cool part about it, there was a couple guys on the TRI lounge who took this trade, and they, kicking ass. Kevin said earlier today that he actually should have gotten a triple off of this, but he was a little bit slow on the trigger and only got a double. It's a tough life, eh? Jesus. But great, sort of commentary. Our community is just kicking it here. And I just love watching these guys in action. This was just a little pharma warrant that they were playing, and I guess he had some justification to pick some up down in here, and he's saying that he's taking profits today. So, hey, it's great to see. Julian's killing it, Kevin's killing it. Maybe I should turn the show over to them. I just retire. I'm long Kevin futures, and I'm long Julian futures, and I'm feeling pretty good. All right, heading over to the corn. It's fascinating. I did this as kind of just tongue-in-cheek, just to see what would happen. Threw on this Nautilus shell, set the scale to 3.14, in this case 31.4 as sort of a pi reference. And I gotta tell you, man, this is pretty sick. This is crazy. And I think we sort of talked to you guys recently about how these cash markets had made lower highs here. So in essence, this is just a triangle, and one low, two lows, three lows. Hey, maybe we got bots and shit we should start paying attention to. Off of sort of lower time frames, I was very skeptical whether we could work our way higher here, and we were coming into these lows. Remember we talked about that as na-na-na-na-na levels, right? All these crazy na-na-na-na-na levels. So, turns out na-na-na-na-na was all. That was it. I put on a sort of a reference of what the previous top and then subsequent dump looked like, and that's what this shaded study is here. But you can clearly see in this shaded study we were expected to dump there. I'm not quite sure what color I have this as. Anyway, we can talk about that later. It's no big deal. Anyway, point of the matter here is I was expecting dump. Market just stopped on a dime. And then, fascinating to watch this, the market just pivoted and started to ramp. And what I thought was fascinating about this is we were talking, that crazy end of April, or excuse me, end of March, beginning of April, some sort of crazy eye of the storm pivot. And we like to follow sentiment indicators on crypto. And we saw that all of these spread charts that we like to follow religiously to sort of give us an idea of what miners are thinking, they all in unison started to W out here in earnest last night. And I was just like, holy Jesus H. Christ. And also notice, too, we recaptured our contango levels. We haven't quite on Litecoin. We have on Ethereum. So something very dramatic happened there through yesterday and overnight. So that's encouraging. Of course, we'd like to see us go take out these highs. You can see we're just flirting with that level now. I would have preferred to have seen a nice M come in here on Tether. So I'm a little bothered by that. That might say maybe we got a little bit too far ahead of ourselves here in the short term. People are selling their Bitcoins and their Ethereums and putting it into Tether and just waiting. But we'll see. If anything, if we can M out here on Tether, then that's okay. We're fucking mooning here. But I don't see that just yet. But what I do see, which really made me super happy to see, was we're starting to finally get some bullish structure on these spreads. So, we had talked, and we spent a lot of time in the daily brief talking about this today. We had sort of talked about how, gee whiz, these railroad track lows here sure look pretty powerful. So you saw them on Bitcoin there. And then remember yesterday we were talking about the inside bar failures. And when we did the video, the price had broken down and it was failing. And then we'd also talked specifically about Litecoin. How Litecoin was just really crapping out here yesterday. And then all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, the bull just turned up. And everything just reversed violently. So a really good example of the bull-bear battle lines. The bear tried to take over. The bulls just said sorry and busted out through the top. And what I understand, actually, a few traders on TRI considered that actually a buy level. And frankly speaking, that's not terrible thinking. So we broke the bearish patterns that we were worried about here. Haven't broken Ethereum, and you can see we're still coming up to a moving average there. Haven't broken out on Litecoin, so it's only Bitcoin that's broken its high here. So, but nonetheless, we got some pretty powerful looking W's here. So with that said, running some numbers and levels here this morning. On this W here, that starts setting up new bots. And remember, Stamp and stuff did not go to new highs on this move. So they could use those lows. But off of something like MEX, I know this is hard to see, you can see the W that came in here. There are a lot of TRIers that said, fuck it, man, W's are W's. I'm just buying this bot level and I'm long. Okay, but me personally, I think I'd like to see a third low here. We'll see how it goes. Off of this original trend line now, this trend line off of this structure, you can see how we're running into a bit of traffic there. And, I had sort of said originally what I wanted to see for sort of a higher time frame, this was the end of the bounce, was we wanted to see divergence. So we got to keep a close eye on this, right? Because if we look, we see that MACD has not gone to new highs. RSI has, so that's okay. But I don't like the volume pattern here. This looks a little suspicious. If we get a big red bar, you can see OBV could crank down here. So I can't consider this level here as a new buying level for me. It's just too difficult. If you were long off of that bot off the 4 hours, which is basically the railroad tracks level, awesome. Way to go. I'm just not doing anything here right now. What I was worried about is we'll see how it goes. I mean, there's nothing to be worried about right now on this thing. But what I'm thinking here is, I suppose I can use this one, is, this almost looks like a 3 drives pattern. Let's go daily. Get rid of this. Move drawings. All right. So if we just zoom in. So classic 3 drives pattern. Actually, why don't we go? Actually, I don't know whether this one is or not. Interesting. Off the forwards contracts, they look more 3 drivesy. I don't know whether this is going to work here or not. What do I want to do here? Where was that one? Oh, this is Ethereum. That's why I'm going, why does this not look right? Crazy, Brian. Let's see if I can get my head on straight here. I mean, let's just do it off stamp. Hey, there we go. Oh, look at that. I already had it all written out. All right, so first drive, 127. Then our next range, our next drive should take us up, if this is 3 drives, up into 78, 74, 78, 80, somewhere in there. And remember, we had talked about this before. Colin pointed out last Friday that really he kind of liked the idea of this as a liquidity pool on the ultimate destination, right? Remember, if we think look left, that kind of thing. Where is the liquidity pool? And interesting too, I don't know whether we can use these lines, but this trend line coming off of the top here, notice how that would align nicely with that 127 level as well. And lastly, if we just do a reload zone off of this range, I think we start to see, 61.8 lines up with that level as well. So we got Mountain Man, we got this liquidity pool, we've got the 3 drives, 127, and then, so that's all painting up in that sort of 8,000 area. And then, as we said, botters, you can see 8,000 would be the point where we can move stop to trailing. I do like that. You can see the huge hole in the profile. I like a stab up into this area, but once we get up into Mountain Man and those previous highs, then we have to start thinking about, okay, cool your jets. All right. Wow, I have no idea how long I've been talking. I always say that because I never keep track of how long these are. Hope you guys got some value out of that. Again, here, this bot here, looking at about that 7,500. You can see those highs. Interesting how this bot here, its target is 8,300. Maybe that's where we stab up into that trend line. Tough to say, but I am looking for a nice stab up into this area. And then once we get up into that area, just, be careful. Only other thing I'll say, obviously, with Bitcoin and crypto feeling a little bit better, our little shitcoin long setup that we've been talking about for the past few days, it just keeps working away. And now we're getting W's coming in. And here's kind of a fun story. Julian was telling us about coins that are actually being used in real life. This is a travel website booking platform, and he really liked it and he used it. The actual token to save some money on booking hotel rooms. So I just wanted to mention it today. I mean, you can trade this if you want. Cute little bot setups coming in there. Same sort of thing as the shitcoins. Whatever. It's just a really good analogy that, hey, this stuff is actually being used in the real world and promoted, and that's the next step that we need to see crypto move towards. So great to see. And as I said, excellent report from Julian today. Felt really proud of the hard work that he's doing. And of course, it sounds like he's making TRI a couple bucks too, so I can't complain there. All right, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that presentation, got some value out of it, gave you some levels to think about. All the best, and bye for now.